Well, hello everybody and welcome to this video. If you want to know how to draw out the structures of the superior mesenteric and inferior mesenteric arteries like in this figure right here, then stick around to the end of this video. Well, hello everybody, my name is Khoa, lecturer of anatomy, physiology, and medical terminology, and today we will be looking at the superior mesenteric artery, aka the SMA, and the inferior mesenteric artery, the IMA, by drawing it out and examine the branches of them. All right, so now the same three disclaimers that we had before. We're gonna need two types of pens for this drawing. Number one is a type of black or a blue pen, and this pen is going to be used to draw the structures. Because as you guys all know, the superior mesenteric is going to feed the structures of the midgut, and the inferior mesenteric artery is going to feed the structure of the hindgut. All right, we're going to also need a second pen, which is the red pen. And this red pen is going to be for drawing out all of the arterial branches. All right, second disclaimer is that even though I'll try my best to draw out these structures as slowly as possible so that we can all draw them out together, if you find that this video is moving way too fast for your taste, please do not hesitate to pause the video on YouTube, catch up to me, and then we can go on and do this together again. Okay, and the third one is anatomical variation is very much a thing. Please do not expect everybody's branches of the superior mesenteric, as well as the inferior mesenteric arteries are going to be the same as the next person. It's not going to happen, okay? There will be anatomical variation. That is very much a thing. Okay, so now with the disclaimer out of the way, we can begin. So first off, what we're going to do is that we are going to go ahead and draw out some structures of the midgut. First off, we'll draw the duodenum. And as we have already seen from the last video with the celiac, we are going to use the two C curves, okay, with the black or the blue pen, okay. We're going to draw two C curves like this to draw out the duodenum. The duodenum is going to start with the pylorus, okay, for all the way from the stomach, and then is going to have a superior part, a descending part right here, a transverse part, and then finally an ascending part, okay? So you got to draw out all of it, okay? And we are going to end by having the duodenum ends over here at the duodenal-jejunal junction, okay? But what we're going to not do is we are not going to draw out the jejunum and the ileum. So now what are they? The duodenum plus the jejunum and the ileum makes up the small intestine, and that structure can be around 3.5 to 5.5 meters in length. Okay. Now, if we draw out the entirety of the jejunum and the ileum, as well as all the arteries that goes to this organ, it's going to take way too much time, and it's going to be very, very hard on the eyes. We're not going to be able to see any more branches if we do that. And therefore, what we are not going to draw is we are not going to draw out the jejunum and the ileum, except for the last part of the ileum in this video. Okay, and for the branches of arteries that goes to these organs, we're just going to draw out two. One to the jejunum and another to the ileum. All right, so we're not going to draw out the middle part, no jejunum and no ileum, but we are going to draw out this part right here. Okay, and that is the terminal part or the last part of the ileum. And this last part is going to connect to this structure right here. Okay. And that structure right there, that will be the cecum. And it's going to attach the ileum is going to attach to the cecum at this angle right here that is called the ileocolic junction. Okay, the ileocolic junction, the junction in between the ileum and the colon, basically. Okay, so now right here, the cecum is going to be attached to this blind pouch right here of intestine. You call it the appendix. We have already known that. So we're going to draw the appendix in here like this. And then after that, we are going to draw out the ascending colon. And now, as you all know, the ascending colon has these kind of saculations, these pouches on the walls of the ascending colon. But if you want to draw it as two tubes like this, that is also fine. Two lines can make, like, this tube right here, and you can use that as your ascending colon as well as your transverse colon, your descending colon. That's okay. But what I'm going to do is that in this video, I'm going to use a series of sacs just like this to depict the ascending colon first, and then going over here, becoming the transverse colon at the hepatic flexure over here. And then we'll keep drawing out these saculations, making it the transverse colon right here, okay, all the way to the splenic flexure over here, and go down to the descending colon, like that, all the way to the S-shaped part of the colon, the sigmoid colon right here, okay, all the way to the superior part of the rectum, going down. All right. So now let's define the midgut and the hindgut in this picture. Not all of the duodenum is going to be midgut. Okay, the part of the duodenum that is going to be midgut is going to be a little bit of a last part of the descending duodenum. The entirety right here of the inferior part of the duodenum, as well as the entirety of the ascending part of the duodenum. So whatever I'm shading here, that's the midgut part of the duodenum, this one here. And then you have the entirety of the jejunum, that's also midgut. The entirety of the ileum, that is also the midgut. Then you will have the cecum and the appendix, that's also the midgut. All the way up here in the ascending colon, that's also the midgut. And then you have it all the way over here until you get to this angle right here, the splenic flexure. That's all midgut. Okay. Now, how about the hindgut? The hindgut is all about the descending colon over here, going down to the sigmoid colon down here, all the way to the superior part of the rectum. Okay. Those organs are going to be hindgut organs. Okay. All right. So now that we have defined those, let's go ahead and draw out our arterial branches. And this time, let's use the red pen. Okay. Now, the first thing that we need to draw down is going to be the aorta. Okay. The abdominal aorta. The abdominal aorta is going to run more posterior to all of these structures right here. It's going to run all the way down here like this. Okay. Now, the abdominal aorta is going to start right here when it pierces the diaphragm at the level of T12. Okay. And it's going to end when it splits into the two common iliac arteries. And that would be at the level L4. All right. So now, from the abdominal aorta, double A, there we go, abdominal aorta. From the abdominal aorta at the level of L1, you will have an artery that goes out. This one right here. And that is your superior mesenteric artery, SMA. The first branch that's going to go out from the superior mesenteric artery is going to run like this to the duodenum. In fact, it is going to run within the groove that is in between the pancreas and the duodenum, like we have seen before when we talked about the celiac trunk. This artery is going to be the inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery, and it's going to split in two. One running anteriorly to this junction right here. You call it the inferior anterior pancreaticoduodenal artery. I'm going to abbreviate it simply because of the fact that we have already written out its full name when we talk about the celiac trunk. All right. So now let's go ahead and draw out another branch. This branch we're going to use the dashed lines simply because of the fact that it's run posteriorly. Okay. And it's going to be the inferior posterior pancreaticoduodenal artery. Okay. So those are going to be the branches from the SMA that goes to the midgut portion of the duodenum and feed it. All right. Also from the SMA, you will have branches that goes like this to the jejunum, and we will call it the jejunal arteries. And you'll have branches that go over here and go right here to feed the ileum, to ileum. Okay, and those are going to be the ileal arteries. Okay, now, in an actual person, in an actual cadaver, for example, there will be more than one arteries going to the jejunum, and there's more than one arteries going to the ileum. So there are a lot of jejunal and ileal arteries. Okay, but for the sake of simplicity, we are not going to draw out every single one of them. We're just going to represent them as two branches, one going to the jejunum and one going to the ileum. But that is the reason why I said that not jejunal artery, but jejunal arteries. Okay, more than one. Okay, very, very important distinction there. Now, as the SMA continue to descend like this, it's going to give out some other branches. Okay, and those other branches are going to include one branch that go over here to the ileocholic junction. Okay, ileocholic junction right here. And that branch, we call it the ileocholic artery. Now, as it goes to the ileocholic junction, the ileocholic artery is going to give out a couple of branches. Some of them will go to the distal ileum and feed it. Then there will be one branch that's going to go within the mesoappendix to branch off here the appendix and supply the appendix. That one there is going to be called the appendicular artery. Appendicular artery. Then you will have these branches that goes to the anterior side of the cecum. Okay. And some branches that's going to go to the back or the posterior side of the cecum. And this one, okay, that goes to the front is going to be called the anterior cecal artery. And this one here that goes to the back is, of course, you guessed it, posterior cecal artery. Okay, and finally, the ileocholic artery is going to give off an ascending branch like this. That's going to go up here. Okay, now from the SMA, it's going to give off another branch that goes to the right, like this branch here. And this branch there is going to be called appropriately the right colic artery. The right colic artery is going to have a branch that goes down and anastomose with this branch here of the ileocholic artery that goes up. Okay, now when they anastomose like this, okay, these arteries, the ascending branch of the ileocholic artery and the descending branch of the right colic artery, will continue giving off these branches here that will go in and supply the parts of the colon that are close to them. Okay, now the right colic artery also is going to give off an ascending branch. This ascending branch will continue to go up here to the hepatic flexure and more to the left like this. Okay, giving off arteries that feed the close part of the colon, okay, along the way like that. And then you will have another artery that branches out from the superior mesenteric. And that artery right there, we call it the middle colic artery. Middle colic artery. And this middle colic artery has a branch that goes right to anastomose with the branch that ascends and go to the left from the right colic artery, giving off branches to feed the transverse colon along the way like this. And you will also have another branch of the middle colic that goes to the splenic flexure to the left like that. Okay, and it's going to go and give off branches that feed the colon along the way like that. Okay, and those are going to be all the branches from the SMA. So now let's go over to level L3 over here. And at level L3, another artery is going to branch off from the abdominal aorta. And that one would be the inferior mesenteric artery, like I'm drawing here. That one is IMA, inferior mesenteric artery. The inferior mesenteric artery is going to give off a couple of branches. Number one is going to give off this branch that go over to the left side. And that branch there is going to be called the left colic artery. Left colic artery is going to have an ascending branch that is going to anastomose with this branch here from the middle colic artery like that, giving off branches that feed the appropriate part, of the colon all the way through. Okay, and the left colic artery is also going to give off a descending branch like this that goes down here, giving off branches to feed the appropriate part of the colon like that. And then the IMA is going to give off around 3 branches to feed the sigmoid colon. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and those 3 are also going to be anastomosing with each other like that, giving off branches like this to feed the appropriate part of the sigmoid colon. Okay, and because of that, these 3 branches are collectively going to be named as the sigmoidal arteries. Okay, the sigmoidal arteries. And then finally, the IMA is going to give off another branch here that goes to the superior part of the rectum. Like this, giving off branches, okay, as well as anastomosing with sigmoidal arteries. Like that, giving off all the branches like that. Okay, and that final branch right there is going to be called the superior rectal artery. And those are all the branches of the IMA. Now, one final thing to notice before this video ends is this. Please notice that all of these branches that I am coloring in red over here, okay, I'm filling in this artery with red. Okay, so you will see that all of these branches right here is going to make a margin, okay, and that margin is going to run along the frame of the colon. It's going to follow the colon from the ascending to the transverse to descending colon to the sigmoid colon, and then finally to the top of the rectum like that. That makes a frame. Basically, it's an artery that makes a frame around the frame of the colon. And so because of that, you call it the marginal artery, okay, of Drummond. Okay, because an anatomist called Drummond was the first person to characterize and describe this artery that runs along the frame of the colon like that. Okay, so you call it the marginal artery of Drummond. And those are all the branches of the IMA. All right, guys. So in this video, we have examined and drawn out the branches of the superior mesenteric artery, SMA, and the inferior mesenteric artery, IMA. I hope that you learned something from this video. Thank you very, very much for sticking with me so far. If you have any questions, please comment it down there so that I may be able to answer it as soon as possible. And if you like this video, please click like. And if you want to keep up with the contents in the future, please click subscribe. My name is Khoa, lecturer of anatomy, physiology, and medical terminologies. And I'm looking forward to see you guys in future videos. Bye-bye.